Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of the LODcast. I haven't been keeping count, you haven't been keeping count, nobody knows what's going on. Let's get right into it. First part, we have a guest today. Migrant, would you like to introduce?
Wait, no, you forgot the part where you say, hey guys, welcome to the podcast. How was everyone's week? You say the part with the guest
No one wants to hear
afterwards.
about your week, you loser.
I'm gonna say it. Since Mr. Talkboy, he's supposed to introduce the podcast. Never said it. I'll say it. How was everyone's week? We'll start with you, Biggie. How was your week?
No one wants to hear about your week, Kuyo.
Well, okay, my week was great.
Oh my god, dude. We just said we don't want to hear about it.
Bro.
I love you, Kuyo.
Okay, well, since everyone knows the answer, we're gonna go to Scribe first. Scribe, how was your week?
Work.
Busy.
Yeah, work every single answer
Yeah,
for every
busy.
podcast.
Pretty much it for me.
Hey, Scribe, quick question. Is your theme song the I Work Hard Every Day song or something?
Funny meme, old man.
I shit you not. I thought you were gonna say Rihanna. And I was about to computer and slap you. I was about to go through this computer and slap you.
Look, man, I might be a basic white woman, but I'm not that.
Oh, okay, my week was pretty good. I made a new video. Everyone should go watch it. I spent a lot of time on it. This is my little self-advertising bit. I might even cut it out if I think it's too cringy, but go watch my video. I'll link it.
That means it's already cut out.
Yeah, honestly. Okay.
I'm the same way. I'll like record something and be like, that was the worst thing in the world, and I'll just cut that out.
Wait, Cleo, if you think it's cringy, shouldn't you just cut out all of your dialogue?
Oh, you got me there. Okay, we're getting off track.
I'm here too, by the way.
Shit out of Kuyo, so
Hi, I'm the guest.
As I said earlier, here's Migrant. Migrant, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Migrant Thought. Since this is an audio podcast, I'm not wearing any pants.
Oh, understandable. None of us are.
right, I'm wearing shorts.
Well, okay, since that's out of the way,
I got socks on. Does that count?
Okay. Since that's all out of the way, and we already know pretty much everyone's answer here for how it was, I'll pass it on to Big E to do the little interview, since he always does them.
Oh man, never a good idea. I'm always playing Battlefront doing this thing. But hello, Migrant. So what is it you do on YouTube?
Right now, nothing, because I got a change in profession, but I plan to do some streaming after I get my computer fixed after a Asus mishap, and I plan to do more long-form videos that I've been writing out in my spare time.
All right, well, what are your, essentially, I guess, like, transitions a little bit into what you plan on doing in the future, but is there anything else you have planned?
I have a few long-form videos for some Zelda games. I'm playing through Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. I also have a Fallout Lord series that's been saying I've been saying I'm going to do it for a while, but I'm still working on it. That's kind of like a radio series and stuff like that. And I plan to travel abroad in a year and a half or so. And I took a trip to Las Vegas that was inspired by New Vegas, and there's probably going to be a video coming out for it. I just haven't edited it yet.
You didn't get shot in the head, did you?
No, but I took a back road to Goodspring and ended up on a dirt road instead of the paved road. So I took the scenic route and got very dehydrated in my Mustang I rented. That was $130 a day.
Once again, you're sure because you went to Good Springs. You sure you didn't get shot in the head? It happens a lot, more than.
No, but they actually had Fallout stuff there.
Understandable.
Nice.
The bartender paid me in a Nuka-Cola bottle cap. He's a Fallout fan.
Explain how you got into YouTube or streaming, essentially just the gaming sphere, the content sphere, the whole process. Really, it's something you just no normal person just like, oh well, fuck it, let's just do it.
I wanted to do YouTube for a while. Got inspired by Shoddycast, and I'm kind of still in contact with one of the previous members. And then I graduated college and got a job, and I've been trying to make videos and trying to get the right workflow, and it's starting to come along where I'm producing more stuff. But then changing profession, and oh look, I haven't uploaded a video in 3 weeks.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like watching. I was like, oh geez, better go look at Migrant Thought's channel, and then all of a sudden, 3 weeks no video. I was like, oh geez, what happened here?
Basically, I'm very busy and I'm working longer hours, even though I enjoy my job more than my last one. I used to work for an evil ISP.
Ooh, ISPs. Ooh, no one likes that. Oh, Big E. Next question.
Well, essentially, I'm gonna kind of, I guess, skip the next one we've set because you don't really make videos anymore. What do you like to actually do?
I do make videos. I just haven't done this recently. Well, I've taken up the trumpet so I can try and play Country Road on it.
We had an entire section last podcast that was cut out completely where I just started singing Country Roads. So maybe
did it get claimed?
No, I never got. I just cut it out entirely because I was like, oh geez, I just started singing Country Road for like 2 minutes straight. Last podcast was pretty wild, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, I listened to most of it, though I don't remember some.
Yeah, you definitely won't remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. I also practice French. And I just took up Mandarin Chinese because I had the first level Rosetta Stone and said, why not?
Okay, since Biggie's kind of muted right now, I actually have a few questions for you. So, I know we asked this last time you were on, but that never actually got released. How did you ever go about meeting people like Xerix the Hackeron and all those other folk?
I found his email, sent him an email, he responded, he came on my podcast.
Really? But how did you end up getting hosted on his podcast, on his channel?
It was just easier. I didn't have the equipment, and I technically don't have the technical know-how. That's why it's always local file for me.
Oh, really? Because
yeah,
there's always when it comes to YouTuber stories and getting to know other people, it's always the most mundane things ever. Like, for example, the way I got to know Imperial Knowledge was by literally just messaging him once over his email, years ago. And it's really weird how you come to meet these people.
I do want to. You remember that script I told you about, or sent you about the Dragonborn being immortal and all those canon. Incorrect canon assumptions and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to send that to Imperial Knowledge and see if he could get through the same mind frame and see if my mind frame is correct at all. I'm convinced the Dragonborn's immortal in some form.
Oh no, definitely. If you want to talk about that, we can actually talk about that because
either via vampirism or Hermaeus Mora does something to do to him to keep him immortal because he's the last Dragonborn and the source of dragon knowledge, and becomes his bitch at the end.
I'll actually throw that down in the little lore section we have, since that's a pretty long argument that I know Zork's not here, but we always manage to cover lore when he's not here, which he hasn't been in a while, but we'll talk about that later. Anyone else have any questions for Migrant? Okay then. This was pretty fast. Let me check the time on that. Oh geez, only 15 minutes so far. This is gonna be pretty easy to edit. Well
so
then.
Cool, you're saying you finish early?
Oh, you got me there. Okay, so that said, since this podcast gone kind of quiet. By the way, Scribe's not talking because his internet kind of went out. Biggie muted himself because we all heard his dog in the back. So this is me, Tox, and Migrant right now.
I am back.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah, but that said, since no one has any more questions, we can move on to the actual favorite section of the podcast that everyone actually does love. The news section, or whatever's happening on YouTube section. I'll just hop in the first one. Minecraft is back. Mr. Talkboy put it here. Tox, take it away.
So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Minecraft has been back in popularity for a while now, and it's just something that I thought would be a fun topic to discuss and ball over. Why you think it's back, and do you think it's going to go back down like it was last time with everybody jumping on board because it's a popular trend, or do you think it's back for good this time?
I'll be honest with you, Chief. I think it's only a trend again. It's like
shut your whore mouth.
Well, no, because if you think about it, every single game out there, except maybe a lich like Skyrim manages to go up and down in their popularity, especially when they're multiplayer. Like, for example, I think a really, really good example would be something like Overwatch, where, like, the game will be popular every time a new hero or a new mechanic or a new update comes out, but then every time, like, there's massive, because Overwatch has, like, updates every 4 months that actually do anything, so the game will literally die in popularity, drop down on, like, 2 players in the game, and then rise back up every few months. And I think with Minecraft, because if you know how Minecraft was, the updates on the game slowed down to such a crawl that literally no one actually cared about the game. Like, because you know how we had the recent Minecraft update come out a little while ago?
Oh.
Okay, there's a recent Minecraft update that came out, but the update before that literally happened 2 or 3 years before. Like, Minecraft had so many updates so quickly early on, and then all of a sudden it literally had no updates, and that was mostly because the dev Mojang obviously saw that the game was pretty much dying, and they were like, oh geez, guess that we don't have to put as much effort, but now people are back, and we've had like 2 or 3 consecutive updates. So I think it really is cyclical, to answer your question again. I don't think it's here to stay. I mean, I never really stopped playing Minecraft, or at least thinking it was a good game. But the community, just like with games like Fortnite or just Battle Royales in general, really drives how people go about playing games. And in my case, the first Battle Royale I played was Apex Legends. And now, literally everyone who plays Apex Legends is the same kind of people who were on Xbox Live back in 2012 with their kids in the background screaming on the mic. So, yes, I think it's cyclical. It's going to die out again.
I don't play Minecraft.
Oh, why? Per se, why? Why don't you?
Never really had a chance.
Oh. Well,
Space engineers.
Biggie, do you got any thoughts on that?
Shit out of Minecraft back in the day. Like, every now and then I like to have like one big project a year, but like even then it's just one of those things where I just threw the effort to, because I do everything on creative, so it's just like, or not creative, on
survival.
So I have to get all the resources, all the materials, and get everything to really do anything. And just thing out that I'd rather not do when there's other games out there.
Yeah, see, that's
Skyrim and Fallout.
Skyrim, the game that will literally never die.
Well, that's the thing, Kuyo. I was gonna bring that up too. You mentioned Skyrim that like has been able to kind of avoid, dropping and avoid the kind of fluctuation that most games have gotten. But I think this also has to do with the idea that Skyrim just keeps getting fucking released. Like, it does not matter. It's always getting released nowadays. So
yeah,
think about it.
I think there's like a new console or something that was announced. I forgot what it was. It's not major, I think, but I heard about. It was a Kickstarter thing. Do you guys remember the Smash Z or the Smock Z or whatever? If you've seen any videos about Kickstarter, like really bad Kickstarters, it'll probably be in there. But it finally got released, and on launch, it's basically just like a Linux. It's basically a Linux install on like a mobile device running on like an AMD APU. But like a launch title that they're advertising is Skyrim. So, like, Bethesda, guys, you okay?
I'm just waiting for the moment when Skyrim eventually comes to GOG Galaxy. Then that will be the last version I buy.
Are you sure about that, though? They're gonna re-release it, like Skyrim Special Edition, the remaster, and it'll be.
Unless they want to throw Fallout content or stuff from the next Elder Scrolls series in the Skyrim, they can't really do much more.
Yeah, honestly, I think at this point ESO is kind of dying out too. We've explored literally every corner of the game. We're gonna get a new Elder Scrolls soon. Like I'm betting my left nut on it.
We're getting Starfield first.
Yeah, that too. I'm more excited about Starfield.
Considering on Bethesda's behavior with Fallout 76 and now Doom.
Oh yeah, the Doom thing. I remember that.
Yeah, Doom and Wolfenstein with microtransactions in a single player game.
No, I had a wildly unpopular opinion that Wolfenstein 2
Wait,
was
excuse me, what?
a tragedy.
No, a single player game with microtransactions?
Yeah, they retroactively put
the one where you co-op with the two daughters for BJ Blazkowicz has cosmetic microtransactions in it, and with Doom they put in DRM, the original Doom, not Doom or Doom Eternal. When there was already a homebrew version where you can just port the Doom PC Doom to Switch, and then with the Xbox backwards compatibility, it got delisted, though they're claiming it was a bug. And the new version's missing features.
Yeah, it's like I think that really goes against the actual spirit of the original Doom because it was all shareware. So it's kind of scummy in my eyes, but it's Bethesda. They've been becoming EA over time slowly.
Hey, the only reason I bought a Switch was to play indie games because I found I actually can get through games if I play them on the console. So the Switch is my indie game machine, and then I just rebuy them on Steam or GOG Galaxy when they go on sale.
Well, okay. Anyone else got anything to say about the parent topic, which we strayed off from, Minecraft?
We were talking about Minecraft?
No, okay. I think that's a good sign. Next topic. You guys remember how the Lion King was butchered, maimed, kind of stripped of everything that made it human, and then recreated in CG?
Yeah.
I have an unpopular opinion on this topic.
Oh, actually, you can get to that. Give me a sec, though. I'm just gonna present my argument. So Lion King recently was re-released, and with it, every video I've seen about it, because I watched a lot of film channels and just like channels about how you make movies and stuff. So most of their arguments always stemmed back to when it came to the art. The movie looks photorealistic as all hell. They're not saying it looks bad. What all the arguments about the actual CGI in the movie comes down to is that it's too real. There's no expression. Like the lions, when they move their mouths, like I've seen clips from it, it looks like they don't have souls. Like their mouths literally move like badly animated games from 2006. Because how the hell are you going to get a lion to look like a human unless you literally contort its face to not look natural? But yeah, my argument basically roots down to basically those. I feel like CGI in modern movies is bad.
I have a thing to say on that matter. I think Disney should stop butchering old classics for a buck.
Oh, I don't know if you heard that they already announced that they're gonna do another like 25, 30 movie titles from the past.
I think it's 40. Yeah. I think it's like 40 something.
Yeah, including Lilo and Stitch and a bunch of other things.
Okay, first off, like I saw this thing. It's like they're planning on remaking Mulan without Mushu or any of the songs.
Yeah.
But why the fuck would you make it?
Why would you get rid of Mushu? That's the dragon dude. Like, why would you get rid of him? Come on, he was the comic relief.
You still have the originals.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, yeah, okay, that said,
it's kind of pathetic that they keep releasing these old movies. Like, for instance, The Lion King, from what I heard, is more or less verbatim the old movie.
They occasionally re-release the old movies in HD collection.
Yeah, actually, that said,
we do that with video games too, with remasters.
Migrant, you want to actually present your argument because you said you kind of have a controversial one, and I don't think anyone here is going to agree with it, but go for it.
Basically, I don't see what the big deal is because you still have the originals. Let the stuff go, and because they're not popular, they'll eventually die out in living memory, and you still have the originals. All companies do this.
No, I know all companies do this, but you say this. But I'm willing to bet Disney made bank on The Lion King simply because they have a celebrity cast. Every commercial when the movie debuted for like the week before, and I think most of this week, has just been the Lion King commercials. They're pushing it like it's a new drug, and it's just
they've been doing this for decades.
I understand that, but the principle of the matter is just you're reselling the same old garbage. It's getting a little annoying.
Nintendo does it too.
I mean, Nintendo's been called out on it quite often.
Yeah, and Disney's been called out on it too, and so are all these other gaming companies too.
Just because like it's a common practice doesn't mean we should endorse it, though. We should actively
don't go
call
watch
out
it
against
then.
it, though. I don't plan on.
I think a good way of mediating this would be to say, in my opinion, okay, I know this is kind of pretentious, but I like to see myself as an artist because it basically Tox here can vouch for how much time I spend on things, but okay, that's beyond the point. When I look at something like The Lion King, I like the re-release, just coming from a standpoint of someone who spends lots of time on like perfecting tiny details. Obviously, well, there's something that you see in when you re-release a video, or when you remake a video and you mess up on it the first time, or you do really good on the first time, and then someone goes about like literally copying your video verbatim, or just someone just makes a copy of your video and makes a similar topic. You might even enjoy it a little, like, but the principle comes down to, isn't that just kind of like soiling what I've done? Isn't that just, you took something that really was good and you're kind of ruining its memory? I know what you said about basically it dying in popular memory later on, but there's always going to be that stain on a legacy. And I think for the people who made the original Lion King, at least some of them, they might see it that way. But obviously that's coming from a very naive perspective about how art should be treated.
There's nothing original anymore. Lord of the Rings, The Witcher, Game of Thrones, all fantasy-based swords with elves and stuff.
Well, no, each of those is based off, well, they all come from different
They're
legends.
variations of the same genre.
Well, when in the case of something like, they are all variations of fantasy, medieval stuff, but there's
okay, I have something to say to that. There are tropes, and there's nothing wrong with using tropes. The issue comes down when you're just re-releasing the same thing, not changing anything about it, which is a lot of what Disney does. Whereas
I agree with it. That's why I don't go see most of them. But I don't see a problem with it if you don't go see it.
I just think it's scummy on their end, and there's people out there that vehemently defend people who
that's the thing. That's the thing, though. Not everyone out there is people like us who look at this with a critical lens. You forget that the mass populace is a bunch of idiots. They'll watch anything as long as it has their favorite actor.
The market is parents that want to relive that experience they had with a kid with their children.
Well, no, the market is millennials, and as a generation, we are the most sentimental generation. It's genius level marketing. There's no argument on that. It's just scummy on Disney's end.
Most business is scummy.
Yeah, not everyone's us. You look at Skyrim. Exactly. That's enough of an argument. People will buy anything as long as they're mindless enough about it.
Skyrim got to the point where it is ridiculous because it was such within a short time frame.
Moving on to the next topic, the Witcher Netflix series was announced, and
doesn't actually look that bad.
So I in here because A, I've read all the books, and B, I love the fucking game so much. So essentially, it's not trying to be the books nor the game. And so people who get upset that it looks like neither, it's not trying to be. It's supposed to be its own little segment of the Witcher series and saga. So I'm completely okay with what they're doing. My only and my biggest issue is the fact that Yennefer looks like she's 12.
As how it should be, Star Trek Discovery.
It kind of depends on when it takes place.
No,
really.
What I'm saying is they said it's in the same universe, but everything they did, it contradicts to what they're saying, and they're doing really poor marketing and alienating their audience.
Yeah.
If they just said alternate universe, okay, different interpretation, people might complain, but eventually that'll die down.
See, I think it was a while back on a Discord server, I was talking to one of our friends. He was telling me, like, Polish people have literally one thing in their nation that really defines them. Like, The Witcher, the series, is held as like a as a national treasure there, and like they gave
it to the president of the United States.
Yeah, they gave it over to like the U.S. Even though the games were developed in Poland, they gave over the series or the rights to the book to Netflix. And Netflix, from what I've seen of the trailer, some parts look faithful, but just from a visual standpoint, everything seems disjointed. It doesn't seem as though it feels like the person making it doesn't really have a lot of knowledge about some things, and I do think that the director on it is a novice, because thing that movie companies love doing. It
does look a little bit like an indie film.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I definitely do agree with that.
The thing that companies like Netflix love doing is putting brand new directors or people who are brand new at things on massive projects. That way they can lower the budget and say...
brand new actors and shit, yeah.
They can just lower budgets
that's
and
because...
Wait, isn't Henry Cavill playing,
Yes.
He's about the only big name in there.
Yes, and
Apparently, they went through like 200 casting calls, and Henry Cavill's the one that actually came out on top.
well, believe it or not, he is a fan of the series. He has come out and said he has like played the games and read the books. But my issue with him is that he is not Geralt's body type. Toned. He's meant to be muscular, but like skinny. He's not meant to be jacked out of his mind. He's not meant to be Superman, but
I wouldn't say Geralt's skinny though.
No, okay. In the book,
that's what I'm saying. He's muscular. He's toned. He's muscular.
He's toned.
And so that's my only, like, well, not only. So that's one of the things I've noticed. It's like he's not meant to be that big, and yet they definitely made him that big because I doubt Henry Cavill really wanted to slim down.
The thing is, like, with actors like Henry Cavill or other superheroes type bodies, they're not usually not typecast, what's it called? Method actors, where they're like cut down to like 100 pounds if a role requires it or something. So that's just something that we have to live with, I guess, because
they're not Daniel Day-Lewis or Christian Bale.
Yeah, Christian Bale
goes from being 115 pounds for American Psycho to 190 for Batman.
Right.
To be honest, I thought that Batman outfit made him look a little fat. Look at his neck; it looks a little chubby.
But yeah, another thing on the Witcher Netflix series that I kind of had an irk with was. I know I might get called out for this. Actually, anyone who listens this far into the podcast, I apologize if I come off as racist or if I demean your marginalized group. But I think...
Shut up, you're Asian!
I think that the choice of basically non-Polish people or people from like Northern Europe for some of the characters, like for example, Yennefer, was kind of a bad idea because there are in the Witcher universe there's actually there are places like that. There's Middle Eastern kind of cultures in that universe that actually look like that, and Yennefer is not from there. She's 100% from the north. So
like I pointed out, Kuyo, my issue with Yennefer is the fact that she looks like 12. She looks like she's 12.
Yeah,
she's young.
I think she reminded me. You guys remember The Mummy, right? The newest one.
Yes. I didn't see it, but I know of it.
Yeah, I think she's the same actor.
Oh, you mean
that
Supernatural Tom Cruise?
Yeah, Tom Cruise. Hey, we're making The Mummy. Oh yeah, can I just be like the main character at the end too? Can I just like, can you guys just make me super powerful in the movie?
Well, no, what they were doing was essentially Supernatural Avengers.
Yeah, it's great. Like, he just decides to make himself, like, the hero of the series by becoming the death god. I think with the Witcher Netflix series, I mean, I assume it's gonna...
I think I'll be happy as long as Henry Cavill doesn't have a CGI mouth again.
No, not again. Yeah, we
CGI'd mustache.
We added a CGI beard on top.
I didn't actually notice that. What bothered me about that movie was his outfit looked like an actual unitard instead of
because it was all CG.
Suit.
That was actually CG on top.
No, it looked like a cosplay outfit.
Yeah,
and not a good cosplay.
Okay, if anyone doesn't have anything else to say about that, we can move on to the next section. Okay, I guess not. Talkboy, move on to the next section. Let's go.
All right, so we're not doing Elder Scrolls exclusively anymore, so we're just going to be talking about whatever games we want. First off is the Dragonborn Immortal. I know that Migrant brought up something on this, so why don't we...
Alright, well, the basic skeleton of it was both the expansion dealt with some form of immortal Dragonborn, and it makes sense that Hermaeus Mora, who has the ability to influence reality, would make the Dragonborn avoid death and basically immortal because he's the last Dragonborn. He has access to dragon knowledge, and that's kind of Hermaeus Mora's thing. I tried to dig into the lore to see about other Dragonborns disappearing or stuff, but stuff like the Alicia chick kind of just died. But there were Dragonborns in Sovngarde too, so yeah. Argument kind of fell apart, but I'm still convinced he's
actually
Dragonborn or immortal.
In my opinion, you are right, 100%. But I'll explain it to you because this is a highly debated topic in the nerd circle.
Oh, and also him selling all his souls, his gods, won't be a problem if he's immortal.
there's actually a very big argument in the lore community about this. So I'll explain it from my end, which is very... You know who Michael Kirkbride is, right?
The book guy?
Yeah, okay, yeah, pretty much. But he's the guy who wrote all the non-canon stuff for Elder Scrolls that is still technically in the realm of canon, based on who you ask, depending on whether Bethesda uses it or not. But anyways, from coming from that perspective, a lot of us tend to see the last Dragonborn as so there's this god in the Elder Scrolls known as Lorcan, and Lorcan is directly attributed to being Shor in the Nordic pantheon. So when it comes to it, it's kind of summing all this up. A lot of people think that the last Dragonborn is in fact a reincarnation of Shor, who is technically Lorcan, and as such, theoretically, you're a god, and you are hence immortal, or at least your soul's immortal. Outside of that, there's like you mentioned how he gave a soul away. When it comes to Elder Scrolls, we tend to see things like that as not canon, because unless it's explicitly stated, and main quest lines are what we see as canon, to be honest. Everything else could have been done by another hero. It might be done by your hero, unless it's explicitly told to us that it wasn't done.
Wouldn't guild quest lines be canon too?
I think my take on a lot of the what-if situations is the only thing that's canon to the Dragonborn is the main quest line and the main quest of the DLCs. Everything else that's an optional or a side.
That's.
Are you saying he doesn't become Dragonborn Indiana Jones and Solitude in that museum?
I'm basically just saying
in some universe you do.
Yeah, in some universe.
It's kind of like how in Cyrodiil, if you think about it, in the game Oblivion, if your character becomes the leader of every single guild, the moment your character goes, okay, I'm out, and goes and mantles the Mad God, what happens to the guilds? They would all collapse immediately.
Yeah, and they didn't.
But we know from canon that they didn't.
That's the state of canon. But when it comes to what you said, I think you're 100% right. And you went about it in a kind of a roundabout way, which is understandable since you're not as heavily into Elder Scrolls lore, but it's definitely the right conclusion. But that said, we can get into the whatever we want to talk about section. Since Scribe's not here, Big E, or you want to try?
Essentially, this is the part of the podcast where we just talk about whatever it is we want to talk about. And who's first on the list? Well, yeah, Scribe's not here. So essentially, Kuyo, you want to talk about your yes. What do you want to talk about with Overwatch?
I like the transition.
I'm looking back and forth, man. I'm trying to play some games.
Okay, so recently Overwatch released a new character, and obviously it's a great thing that the game's getting an update. The new character, things are going to change up so much because this game is so heavily revolved around singular counters, and this guy's a massive counter to a bunch of stuff. That said, the character's backstory is that he was a mad scientist who now suffers from basically inter-universal schizophrenia.
Are we going to bring up the controversy or just talk about the character?
We're going to bring up the controversy.
Right.
Basically the controversy around this character is that two things. First of all, he's a white character introduced to a game. He's actually the first male white character introduced to Overwatch since its launch. And the second one is that he's making the existence of the character is making fun of mental disorder, which I think it isn't. So, what are your thoughts?
Since I've seen the trailer, I'm gonna go first. The way that they put the entire premise of it, if you were able to distort reality to a point that you actually went insane, I think only a libtard moron would be in their right mind to call you would be able to call offense for something like that. Because let's be realistic. If you did something like that in a real life setting, you would go utterly insane to a point where if you're witnessing every reality possible, you would be a little bit schizophrenic, wouldn't you?
Yeah, understandable. I absolutely get that you'd be schizophrenic. Like, the story that they gave the character was that he's messing with black holes.
Even then, even if he is schizotypal, right? It's done in such a tasteful manner. Because I've seen mental illness, especially like schizotypal mental disorders, done in a very distasteful manner before. And honestly, I think this is done in a very well-meaning manner. But he's a white man, so, what do I know?
Migrant, you got any thoughts on that?
It's okay, I get to say this because I'm not white.
I have no strong opinions on either side of this because I haven't seen it.
Okay, understandable, but Biggie, anything?
Not necessarily. I didn't hear too much about it, so
okay, so
can't really say too much.
I guess I'll just wrap it up then. So when it comes to me on this, I think that it really just comes because we've had this talk a lot on this podcast. I know this isn't political cast or whatever the name would be, but
politics always comes up in this podcast. What the fuck you talking about?
It's because the media is very polarized.
Okay. So since I'm the kind of guy who just plays devil's advocate for the sake of it, I think at least when it comes to people trying to identifying characters in a video game, and actually, I was having a talk with Talks about this. See what I did there?
Yo.
But there was a GDC, the Game Developer Conference thing about this, where a writer from Kotaku was talking about how the character in a video game needs to be freed from the tyrannical player, and that they should be allowed to do things that align with their own motives.
Then go watch a movie, you fucking idiot.
It's not just that. I mean, obviously, it should make sense that if you're in a linear first person game or just a linear story driven game, your character shouldn't be killing innocent people all the time. But that said, there is obviously a point at which there's obviously a point at which the character is meant to be controlled by you. So when it comes to people trying to identify with characters, it's completely understandable, but kind of, like I said, playing devil's advocate, the character should be allowed to at least be the character when it comes to deciding what they're doing in the story.
It depends on the type of game, though.
Yeah, it's all very contextual.
If you're playing a Telltale game where it's a movie and you're just clicking QuickTime events, yeah, that makes sense. But most people don't like those kind of games. Most people like FPS or RPG type games or MMOs. I'm just saying, in those kind of games, it doesn't make sense for the character to just like if you have a gun in your hand and you see an enemy, the character goes, "No, I can't kill that person. They're black and I'm white." That makes no sense. No, I'm serious. That makes no sense. If you're playing an FPS and the character has a conflict of morality.
Yeah, that's understandable. I completely get it. So, yeah, I think I kind of summed it up. It's all about marginalization where, like we've said a million times on this podcast, people love just separating themselves and becoming tribal. That's just how humans work. And this will blow over. This is just a slight controversy.
Question, which one of you guys wear glasses?
All of us.
Okay, good. Yeah. I'm starting a new tribal group. We're all a marginalized group because we wear glasses. Let's go and demand equal rights for no reason. We'll go to Kotaku.
Video games don't have enough people with glasses in them. Okay, so I guess I'll move it on. Oh, actually, Biggie, this is your thing. Yeah, go for it.
So, in light of more loot boxes and everyone's favorite thing to complain about, microtransactions, GTA 5 released a new update that was utter garbage. Essentially, it added a casino to the game, and they worked really hard on it. I'll give them that. But it is utter garbage. They're like, it has all your favorite games, like Blackjack and 3-card poker. What the fuck is 3-card poker? Essentially, it got banned in 50 countries because of the microtransactions, and because they said it's essentially gambling at that point.
They're not microtransactions. They're surprise mechanics.
Yeah, but essentially though, what like big corporate, some big it's like big countries, like nothing like the UK, the United States, nothing big happened there. But like Portugal, South Korea, Greece, and like there are some of the more prominent countries in there. But at the same time, it's kind of crazy to think that just a few states here and there going in, and a few countries like Belgium trying to take the stand against this really shitty practice. But now it's something a lot more. We got a big wave of people pushing back against something really as small as this, because like I said, it's nothing significant of what they're like of this update. This update is relatively small compared to everything else.
Well, what I'm wondering is why would they add in microtransactions or loot boxes?
Well, they've had it. They're the shark cards.
Well, no, you said it was an update, so I'm assuming that they added in this entire big new thing all of a sudden, right?
Oh, well, the shark cards were in there. However, the way it's set up is essentially it is gambling. You're at a casino and you're gambling, so you make money at this casino or you lose your money at the casino. And
jeez, they didn't go light on that. They just straight up made a casino.
Isn't that a feature? Isn't that a feature in New Vegas?
Yeah, but obviously you're not spending real money on it.
Okay. I thought it was just like an in-game currency that you were spending.
No. I'm assuming that it probably does involve an in-game currency, but it's like the kind where you buy it outside to spend in-game, which is already an idiotic idea, but it makes them slightly more money because you lose money on the transaction that they gain. But in the case of this, I think it's a good sign, but at the same time, it's kind of bittersweet in that the game industry should be allowed to govern itself. It has to govern itself, otherwise it will go to crap. Because if government authority gets involved in everything, it'll die. It's happened before to other industries, maybe not to such a bad extent, and maybe to a really bad extent in other cases. I know, and it's good sometimes, and I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, but I remember in my political science course a while back that my professor mentioned how when the government gets involved, it always makes things worse. And I actually did think of an example. ISPs. Notice how when the government got involved, ISPs didn't get better. In fact, I would say they've gotten worse in terms of how they do business. It's almost as though they started ignoring us altogether. Like, your internet will go out, you won't even get a courtesy call like you used to anymore. And I think it has partly to do with government interference, though that might just be me overthinking it. That said, Biggie already kind of explained his thoughts to it, so I think with that, we can actually move on to the next and final topic for the majority of the podcast. Migrant, want to take it away?
Oh, you mean, Picard series. Okay, so we'll start with Lady Thor. I didn't like, except for the first movie, she was fun. Natalie Portman in the Thor series was getting the Padme treatment again, so I don't blame her for leaving. I always had this thing, if I ever ran into her at a convention, I would go and buy the Lady Thor series because it's her character and present her to it. Is like, if you ever come back to the MCU, come back for this, because the Lady Thor story in the comics is actually pretty damn awesome. Essentially, she gets cancer, and the Thor becomes Odin's son because he's unworthy, and that has its own separate story that eventually collides with it. And they do play fast and loose with Mjolnir's lore and add new powers to it and stuff. But at the end, she actually sacrifices herself to save the gods who were unworthy, who then go to her call to action to try and bring her back to life. And it's a pretty damn cool story. For those who are listening, I would recommend looking up Comic Story and listening to the audio presentation of that comic that definitely is not explaining the story at all, and I don't know how he gets around it. But for the films, I'm glad they're coming back with Lady Thor, and I'm actually putting the MCU aside for a few years because I think the story is just done, though I might go on my way to see that one in theaters. This is indicative of the Captain Marvel trend that's happening that I'm a little afraid of.
Captain Carrot, my favorite.
Taika Waititi does seem like he has a brain on it, so even though it's part of that trend, it might stand out as the Wonder Woman type of female superhero instead of more like the Captain Marvel female superhero.
Yeah, I understand completely where you're coming with the Padme treatment with her. She was literally just a side character meant to take the fall. And
she was fun in the first movie.
Yeah, in the first movie, she was... I didn't really mind her in the first movie. Second movie, I've actually never seen Thor the Dark World.
Yeah, right. Thor with her car.
The thing is, though, like with the first movie, they did the romance aspect so well and then they just didn't know where to go with it. No, the thing is, like, the whole Thor and I forgot what her character's name was, but that romance story was done very well, and then it just crashed and burned. The whole second Thor movie was just a wreck. Just so bad.
There were some fun jokes with Thor's hammer in that movie, and Eric Selvnik running around in his underwear, so they had some fun point. What I'm hoping they do is the jokes where Thor is so broken up of Jane dumping him because he's a god is actually extremely funny. What I'm hoping is she actually did get sick and then got better or something with the snap, and she actually was tracking down Thor when Hela destroyed Thor's hammer and they disappeared. She picks up Thor's hammer, like the pieces and stuff, and tries to fix the hammer, and then later comes back with Thor's hammer in some form and surprises Thor, and then they could be the ultimate power couple, Lady Thor and normal Thor, though I would prefer him being called Odin's son or her Odin's son in some way, because Thor's already gone through the unworthy arc with Infinity War.
I still feel like his arc isn't over yet, because he's kind of decided that he's no longer the king and that he really should follow his own path. But that said,
I'm just mad that they made him fat and made him into Fortnite.
That was awesome.
Well, no.
I can cosplay that.
The thing is, it's not that they made him fat, right? I thought that was great that they're showing that he's progressing as a person. I just thought it was dumb that they made him into this weirdo who drinks beer and plays Fortnite.
No, that was supposed to be the lowest point in his life. He's not
the most unbelievable part of that movie is that Fortnite would survive the snap and be around 5 years later.
Guys, I have a serious bit of thing to talk about. So you know how Thanos exists as a skin in Fortnite?
Yeah, the whole Thanos event.
Are we saying that in the Marvel universe that after the whole snap thing, the developers of Fortnite were like, "Yo, we got to put this dude in Fortnite, you guys."
You know, it must have been a really weird situation when Samuel L. Jackson showed the prequel series to Captain America.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey man, why are you in there with the lightsaber?
It didn't happen in canon. That it's a different actor, or he just didn't do it.
Okay, Migrant, you want to move on to the Picard series thing so we can wrap up this podcast?
Okay, so basically the series that actually should have happened where they made CBS All Access is happening with Star Trek Picard, even though that's kind of a dumb name. With the last trailer, they're hitting all the right story beats, and the aesthetic would actually make sense if it was a future of the TNG instead of happening in TOS version. But we have to remember that CBS is quite of a kind of a abusive domestic partner when it comes to Star Trek.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around that statement. How they? I don't know how they are. Could you elaborate?
Okay, so essentially, what I mentioned earlier is Star Trek Discovery happened in the prime timeline. They kept saying it's happening in the prime timeline. However, they do completely different things. They're not saying it's a reimagined universe or anything. They called like the D7 different ship entirely, then they retconned it in season 2. And it's like, this is the D7. And kind of in a way of like, there, you happy there's the actual ship? Are you... thanks for complaining and making our jobs harder and stuff like that. The problem is they're proposing a show to a target market for a general audience when they want it for a streaming service. But what they should have done is actually pandering to the original audience, because they're the ones that would actually be crazy to keep paying for the streaming service. And on top of that, they also changed stuff for the series that was completely contradictory for like technology and stuff that shouldn't have existed at that same time. For example, the Klingons, which actually had an explanation for everything. If they just said it was an alternate universe and the Klingons having different features was a thing, people would be grumble, but they would get over it. Same as how back in the TNG series, everyone complained about Picard and stuff coming out, and eventually it actually became a great series. Basically, the producers of the series were just completely disrespectful to the audience they wanted to take their money from, but was targeting a different audience. And on top of that, they kept changing the aesthetics of the ships. For example, they said, let Klingons be something completely different from what Klingons are and make it different. So you want it to be what Klingons are, because Klingons were supposed to be completely alien to what humans are.
Well, I think with that, I don't know too much about Star Trek, but I do understand when it comes down to these kind of mistakes that people make when making new series or things like that. It's typically because
they should have just made it 20 years after Nemesis.
When I look at these things, I usually think that it's just because they want to try and be a series that they really can't be, and like you kind of said, they should.
If it was just a generic sci-fi series, I would have actually watched it. Though the writing would have been a lose. I would have been fine with Discovery being its own thing if they just said alternate timeline.
Yeah, exactly.
They wouldn't have any creative hindrances from the other series. They were trying to tie it in with previous established writings.
They can really solve almost all their problems by saying, "Oh, alternate universe, alternate take." Literally, just something that's not the original. I can understand the kind of draw people have to having, like, "Oh, this has to take place in the same universe. It's so cool. It's a continuation of the story." But what if the story's bad? You're just kind of ruining it.
Isn't that just fanfic?
Yeah, that's actually what it's selling what Picard is, but they are hitting all the right story beats. They're getting old actors back from the previous series. They're even getting 7 of 9 from the Voyager series in a TNG sequel, essentially.
Oh, okay, so I think with that, since I don't think Biggie has anything to say on this, we can move on to the final section. The section that literally everyone loves and actually everyone watches too. The lightning round, the part from the community. Koxx, want to take it away?
Yeah, sure, I'll talk.
Yeah.
First question. Monkey or no monkey?
I see you're a man of words.
The year of the monkey.
Yes, of course. I see Migrant also I see he's a man of culture as well. See, I think no monkey. Just because I don't like monkey. I think monkey is not very cool. What about you, Biggie? Did he mute himself? Yeah, he did. Okay, what about you, Koxx?
I think we should get monkey, but not just one monkey. Monkey by the barrel full.
Like in the old days, back in elementary school, a man of culture as well. How about you, Migrant Thought? What do you think about monkey?
Spider monkey. He could do whatever a spider monkey does.
Ah, yes, of course. Okay, with that question, hopefully Biggie will chime in for this. Koxx, wanna ask him the question?
Yeah, sure. Hey, Biggie, the people want to know, would you be interested in changing your channel into a toy review channel?
Well, since he's not here, I'll just answer for him. I think that Biggie should change his channel to a toy channel simply because it's more profitable. I know he'd love it more than just doing games all day.
Not doing this channel, motherfucker.
There we go.
All right,
I'm sorry, sir. Would you like to repeat that?
Not making a toy channel.
But
Yeah.
Biggie, think of the YouTube money.
We'd become rich
I don't care
over.
about YouTube money.
We'd become
man.
so rich we could quit our day jobs. And all
Dude, I don't do this for the money, man.
Well, okay, audience, thanks for asking that question. Biggie's answer wasn't too clear. I think he wants to become a toy channel, so keep waiting for that. With that, since there is no third question for this week, thank you for coming to the podcast. I'll have links everywhere, like usual. You know how this whole entire routine goes. This podcast might actually be the shortest one to date, just because we were extremely efficient this time around, and even when we trailed off.
It's going to be a full 10 minutes.
Yeah, just cut it down to 10
I
minutes.
feel so special for wasting everyone's time.
You actually did a really good time at doing it properly. But that said, thanks for coming to the podcast. Subscribe if you want to. Like, please go check out Migrant Thought's channel. I'll put links literally everywhere so you actually do go check it out. And check everyone else's channel.
YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, yada yada yada.
Yeah. I'll link everything up. So thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.
To quote a Orange Ocelot, I miss pants.
Okay, everyone, say bye so I can get it for the ending.
Bye.
I miss pants.
I was gonna say something funny, but it's not coming to mind. It's just
Slen Teed Thor. Full side of a king. Zuul. Korav Nid Nol Dove to high.
Try me, and you'll regret it.
You do not even know our tongue, do you? Do you?
I fought wars more ferocious than you.
Do you?
I've got a bone for you. I don't have a lot of patience for questions, Outland.